back, everyone, to the State Farm Analyst Zone for the last time today, where we're looking at that final game of the day between the LPL and the LCK. And as we said before, we would be able to extrapolate a lot from that game just because it is the two best teams perceived in the group. I mean, I don't even need the air quotes, I think, Cadril. So what is your verdict?
Well, it was a game of globals, basically. A bit different to the meta than team fights. You had one side, you had the Nocturne, you had the Senna, and you had the Tamkenchul. The other side, you had the TF, who was going into the Renekton. So you saw, bar in the early game, which was lots of just neutral objective fights with swaps based on tempo. I think the games were basically playing over side, trying to catch Quinn with the Nocturnal, trying to use the Tamkenchul to play over side. So you saw the majority of these fights, apart from that last ARAM they had in mid, was we go side lane, we try to catch him out. Everyone collapse as fast as you can, use every global we can to get there first, and then whoever got there first kind of won. So you could see even when DRX was behind in this fight, they did manage to take down the Nocturne, and then obviously it was a 4v5. They re-engaged it thinking they could win because of the gold lead, but most of these fights were based on side lane.
And really just a different change of pace and a breath of fresh air, as Kidjo was talking about, that we're not just waiting for Dragon Souls and Baron fights, that you can play a completely different type of pressure game and make these champions and these types of compositions work. And now we've got a race. Now we have at least 4 teams that people can be hyped up. If the EU faithful want to, oh, but what about G2? Or maybe the LPL fans like,
Like, you've never said that.
But Sunning would have been a good fight too. The fact of the matter is I saw a really cool sentiment on social media, and just like echo it here, because I am starting to feel it, that any other year, you take some of these top teams and you put them in a world championship, and they're also in the conversation for favorites to win. And so that feels really cool that you have, you know, JDG and Damwon and TES and DRX, and if you want a G2, throw in a Suning in there, like suddenly it's a jam-packed tournament.
Yeah, I agree with you because all of these teams looked really good, but I'm just thinking about kind of how Top Esports picked some interesting things in that game. They overcame a big comeback by DRX as well, who seemed like they were definitively back in that game, and still it seemed like in the end quite easily team fought their way out of there, and that just makes me think, is there more of a discrepancy here than how you're seeing things right now?
I mean, don't get me wrong. I still think that TES, Damwon are kind of on a different tier. I would put JDG up there, but I think some people might argue that JDG are underneath, and then you kind of have the DRXs. But, you know, there's a very clear black and white, almost meta difference in terms of how people are using picks, what the priority picks are between those 4 teams that we talked about and kind of everyone else left at the tournament.
Yeah, and I think it's hard to take away too much from that game because one team was running, they were both running globals, they both lacked engage, and the only real engage was the Nocturne ult in general, the TF ult. So there was lots of showcasing mechanics. I think they played the fight so well individually. I just think that if you look into the game in deep, you can't really come to a conclusion as to which team was better, because one team has like a TF, the only AP on one side with Lee Sin, Quinn, and there wasn't enough for me. The Draven, too much Ninja Tabis, I don't know.
Fair.
I didn't like the draft too much.
I'm just traumatized by the LPL. I don't know what to tell you. Let's take a look at the groups then. You know, we've had some very telling games across the groups. I think we got more definitive answers out of Damwon Gaming, JDG in Group B. JDG really showing up against Rogue today might indicate that it's a 2-horse race, and it'd be very difficult for those other 2.
Yeah, definitely. It definitely will come down to the second round robin for Rogue against JDG. If they can pull up the win, maybe force a tiebreak or something like that. But yeah, Top and Damwon look like they're dominating right now, in my opinion.
I think some of these groups might come down to the wire. You know, I think Group A looks maybe decided, even if the scoreboard doesn't reflect it. I feel like people are very strongly G2 Suning. Group B, you just talked about how it's decided, but Group C, I feel like anyone could still kind of pop out. So there's still hope or chances, even though TSM are sitting like 0-2, because those teams, it does look like a bit of a circus sometimes at Group C.
I mean, we're sounding a little bit deflated. Maybe it's because we've had 3 days of groups and they've been long days, but it's just because
spoiled by
yeah,
DRX
we've been very,
and
very
TES.
spoiled. But you're seeing the lines in the sand, right? But I love that you called that out, because in the group stage, I don't think we really have seen that many huge upsets, really, when it comes down to the buyer. Really, this humongous favorite being taken down by an underdog. And I would be very surprised if that didn't happen out of all the games we're going to see in this group stage. And that is usually what, you know, messes up these groups and doesn't have them set in stone immediately. But hey, maybe everything goes according to plan.
Maybe it does for once.
Yeah,
for once in world's history. Maybe things will go according to the script, but
It never does.
It never does.
It never
Let's be
does.
honest.
Indeed. So we will be jumping over to Cooldown after the next break. They'll be having Demonte as a guest there and talking about the teams that are undefeated so far, as well as FlyQuest netting the first win for the LCS. But that'll do from us here. I think we ran out of energy a bit at the end, but we'll be back with fresh energy tomorrow, so don't worry. So we're going to be right back with World's Cooldown with Dash, Crumbs, Demonte, and Kobe.
See ya.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to World's Cooldown presented by State Farm, your one-stop wrap-up for all things Worlds. I'm Dash, joined by Crumbs, Demonte, and Kobe. Gents, North America, we got our first win tonight. Let's take a moment to celebrate, shall we?
Oh, yeah.
All right, cool. Moment's over. Demonte, thank you so much for lending us your time here. I want to come to you as we pull up the standings of all 4 of our groups so far. What's been your take 3 days into the group stage here of Worlds 2020?
FlyQuest is gonna win Worlds. We're on the board, baby. That's what I'm talking about.
There it is. There it is.
But real talk though, I think we're seeing some amazing games out of the Chinese teams, and it's something that is just so exciting to watch, and it's so much fun to watch too.
Yeah. Another takeaway for me though is that Korea is freaking back. These teams are really not messing around. Damwon and Gen.G have been crushing it, and yeah, DRX has dropped some games, but they're competing with what we thought was the tournament favorite.
Yeah, they dropped a game, as we just saw, to Top Esports, another contender to win the entire tournament, and it was a banger of a game as well.
Yeah, to say the least. I love you calling out the LCK teams there, Crumbs. It is kind of feeling like a 2-horse race right now at the World Championship when it comes to the regions competing at the top of the table, the LPL and the old kings in the LCK. Let's start, though, with one of the most anticipated matchups of these group stages, and it's that one you just mentioned, Top Esports versus DRX, and we just saw it conclude.
Yeah, I mean, this is an awesome little bit of a replay here from the DRX one, where we do have Top Esports diving on bottom side. Deft goes down 4 people. This was the moment, though, where they overdive. Up until this point, DRX had a lead, and they try and get the extra kill here onto Nocturne. He's so close to going down, but they can't finish the kill. Then Lee Sin goes down. That's a big shutdown for Nocturne. They also were able to get a Chovy after that. And from there, it was a big backswing in the gold, and they were able to fight it right back.
I think something go ahead.
I just want to say, how cool is it that we get to see a Nocturne in the game, and then it goes in the mid lane, and then it's also played by Knight. Like, that is one of the coolest things I've ever seen.
Yeah,
That made Betty the happiest man in the world.
You got Quinn as well. Quinn versus the Renekton. You've got Draven in the bot lane. It seems like it's a janky draft, but when you look at who the players are behind these champions and how they can actually coordinate around making the most of what the champions provide, you can start to see why they are allowed to draft this way and still win.
What do you mean, janky? That was full of counter picks. This is full of high explosive champions. This is what I want to see, right? Because if you go down the list, you're like, okay, you open up with Twisted Fate, super highly prized in the meta right now, for roaming across the rest of the map. They counter it with the Nocturne, who can follow plus W, shield the point and click stuns, and a Tom Kench, who can also travel long distances, bring players to the 1-3-1 game when you have this split pushing Quinn that you're going to have to deal with, and can devour people also out of the point and click stuns. These are rarely seen because so few players have the confidence to play skill matchups. And all these champions are highly variable because they're low health, high damage, and high skill cap.
If you had to pinpoint where the jank is, though, the mid 2v2 Quinn Lee Sin, not ideal.
Yeah, Crumbs, point me in the direction of the jank. No, but what I love about this, what I love about this is that it is our best teams or our perceived best teams at the World Championship that are kind of breaking some of those meta molds. I think so often when we're at international tournaments, we look towards the teams at the bottom of the table to say they're the ones who are going to have to find that unique pocket pick or a way to kind of mess things up when it comes to the draft. But when you see some of these players who are, number 1, number 2, number 3 in their role in the world, and they're bringing out things that no one yet has looked at or approached here at the World Championship, it just makes it all that much more interesting, especially when you consider how things evolve typically second week of groups and then into the knockouts, Kobe.
Yeah, this is why I'm so happy, James, because when I see the highest level of play, when I see the best players in the game, Knight, Chovy, top 2 mid laners, I want to see them pushing the limits, taking chances, playing risky comps, playing risky combinations. I don't want to see boring, sit back, quote unquote perfect League of Legends with no kills where you're only objective focused. I want them to get in there. I want them to try and create leads, and they did just that.
Okay, let's be real though, Demonte. Those stats on the left side of the graphic there, those aren't the prettiest looking stats for a mid laner in a game.
Yeah, this definitely does not paint the picture all that well. I think Nocturne is definitely a champion that is not going to sit here and pump out stats in the same way that a range champion would. But definitely Knight did not play too well in that game early, and even in the mid game he was getting caught a little bit. But I don't think it's anything that top esports should be scared of or worried about.
Yeah, to say the least. I mean, they now sit at 2-0, so able to scrape through on that victory. Crumbs, just coming back to you as a final point on this matchup. Again, a lot of people looking at top esports as a tournament favorite. But DRX, in your case for the LCK teams, I mean, how is it all shaping up now 3 days in with seeing some of these, more high-profile matchups and your kind of pinpointing of regional strength?
I think DRX in particular just has a really high chance of making it out of the group. And if you see just the groups in general, it seems like LCK is just going to make it out. They're just better than the teams that are in 3rd and 4th in their respective groups. And they improve in the best of series, right? So I think that the fact that LCK is back in group stage should be a really scary thing coming into a best of, because preparation has always been one of the LCK's biggest strengths.
Yeah, without a doubt, without a doubt. I do want to hear from the man himself who piloted the Nocturne in the mid lane there. So we're going to head on over to Laure, who caught up with Top Esports Knight.
Thank you very much, Dash. Laure here for the last interview of the day with Knight. TS is on 2-0 here in the World Championship, but I want to ask about the pick you chose here, because I don't know if you know that, but we have a caster. He's a very huge fanboy of Nocturne, especially in the mid lane. So talk me through this pick and why you thought it was a good decision to pick the champion here.
那首先恭喜你们获得本场比赛的胜利，然后你们现在也是2-0的一个积分。那说到今天的比赛，你们也是非常果断的选择了一个梦魇的中单，然后能问一下为什么会在这种情况下选择这个英雄吗？
就主要是他们先帮了我4个中单，把英雄池被针对了。如果我又是那种英雄池比较深的选手吧，就有一种大招就可以用。
So actually, in the ban pick phase, the opponent's team have banned out 4 mid champions, but actually, I have a very deep champion pool, so that's why I've just pick up my secret weapon.
Wow, and it was a very good secret weapon here. But tell me more about the meta mid lane, because we've been used to seeing kind of the same champions every time. So what do you think about the meta mid lane right now, and how deep can it get?
那我们说一下，就这个版本的一个中单的英雄选择，因为其实好像大家感觉现在世界赛版本就那么几个中单英雄出场，那你会怎么样去看待现在的一个中单呢？
这版本强势中单是比较固定吧，但是强势中单被ban的话，可能就有一些新的东西。
Actually, I think in current meta, there's a couple of champions that are very strong, that's suitable to this meta. But if those champions are banned out, I think it's a good time to pick out some new stuffs.
Oh, which is good. You always have opportunities here. But now talking about Top Esports, you are still undefeated here in the World Championship. And so is Damwon. You guys look to be the 2 strongest team in the tournament. So what do you think about Damwon, and why do they look so strong?
那么其实你们现在也是未尝一败嘛。那与此同时，像 DWG 他们也是保持一个全胜的一个战绩。那你们去怎么样去看待这支队伍呢？因为好像大家都认为滔博和 DWG 像是就是非常强的队伍。
就感觉 DWG 也是支就比较全面的队伍吧，就他们实力也特别强。
I feel like DWG is an all-round team. They're very strong in every single aspects.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, when watching them, it gets very crazy here. But here against the RX, it looks like you had the situation in your hands. You took the Baron, but then afterwards, a fight happened top lane and you all died. Did you think that DRX, I'm sorry, could come back at this point in the game?
那其实你们中期是拿到大龙以后，但是很不幸是被对面有团灭一波。那当时你们会不会有点慌，就觉得哎，那个 Dragon X 会不会打一个翻盘呢？
就当时就因为我们的一个判断失误吧，就没算他们有多少人。但其实我们这种后期还是优势的，就也没特别慌。
Actually, at that point, we made a wrong decision. We are not sure about the number of the opponents at that time, but I think we are not that worried about it because our comps is very strong in the late phase.
I agree with you. Well, very convincing victory here, Knight. Thank you very much for the interview. And Wendy, thank you so much for the translation, as always. And back to you, Dash.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Laura. Great to hear from Knight after that victory out of Top Esports over DRX. Again, two tournament favorites, a lot of people citing as two of the teams that could go quite deep into the tournament. And so great to hear from him on his thoughts around mid lane meta, the team and their synergy and ability to bounce back from even some of those losing team fights that we saw within that game. I do want to rewind, though, all the way back to the first game of the evening as we roll through a couple more of our recaps. G2 versus Machi, the European squad taking the victory in this one to move to 2-0. Crumbs, your thoughts here?
That I don't think G2 should be slept on. Yeah, DRX and Top Esports and Damwon looked great, but I thought G2 had a really solid game plan, and a lot of it was Wonder. They set up a really good level 1 for him to get some kills, and then he ends up collapsing here to kill the Grey, so now you already have 2 kills, but at this point his kill participation is really high, and they just continue to play around Wonder, who is probably or maybe definitively Europe's best top laner right now, which shows that at the very least, G2 is competing with what these other two teams are bringing to the table, which is really capable top laners.
Yeah, top lane is definitely going to be a big topic, for the world's meta, as everyone was expecting coming into it. And with the Camille pick, plus the early kills that he was able to acquire, them combining that with a Galio. Camille Galio, one of the best, easiest to execute combinations for pushing a lead ahead, really set them up for success. We saw here earlier in the highlight reel how Jankos got chased down and he got killed early. After that, though, they were able to aggressively help him with a lot of these invades. He started stepping up a lot. I was a huge fan of Mickey's Hail of Blades, Tom Kench.
Oh my goodness.
On them, getting solo kills even for the team, and as well as being able to save people later on. G2 are a team that have a lot of style in addition to some very strong players. They have had to, take a little bit more time to ramp up through summer, but that does make the story super exciting.
Yeah, go ahead, just jump in.
One thing I want to mention is this mid-jungle combo that we're seeing from G2 this game. It's not the first time we've seen it, and it's definitely not going to be the last time we're seeing it. And it's the Nidalee and the Galio combined. And a big reason that the teams are opting into this is Galio is a very selfless champion. It's a champion that doesn't really require help from his jungler, where like you'll see a champion like Syndra or Orianna where it requires a lot of assistance to make it strong. Galio doesn't need any of that, and I think that combo together fits really, really well.
So I think
my kind of mid laner.
I think you've played that with Closer. Like when you have that combination, is the Galio looking to be the shot caller, or is it just like users following Nidalee no matter what she wants to do?
I would think about it in a different way, where actually the Nidalee would be following the Galio, and a big strength of the Galio is that it's able to go first a lot of the time, and when the mid laner is suddenly going first and not the jungler going first, it makes it a lot easier for the jungler to play.
Tanner, I also want to get your opinion on Wonder as an individual, because we talk all throughout this tournament about the importance of the top side of the map. G2 Wonder pulling out the Camille in this one, and when we look at a lot of those top LPL teams and what makes them so great, or top LCK teams, we're looking at players like Nuguri. Can he hold a candle to these other top laners?
I think so. I think he can. I think Wonder, he's already showing it in this tournament that he's definitely a force to be reckoned with, and the fact that he's able to play Camille at a high level and just pick it into any matchup, I think is a great sign for G2, and I think it's something to look out for as the tournament progresses.
Can I direct your attention to the bottom stat there? Gold difference at 15 was almost 2,000. We see so many teams not able to get a 2,000 gold lead. That's one player, one matchup with a 2,000 gold lead and a champion that scales incredibly well too. Obviously, Camille scales really well with items.
Yeah, you love to see it. I think for me, especially as a Western fan, I like to see G2 putting up numbers like that, especially off the back end of the performance that we saw just yesterday from G2. You heard Shocks at the top of the day citing those statistics around Caps' TF performance and the damage that he was able to output in that one alongside Perks as well. Setting records, exactly right. But then, in just a day's time for kind of the script to flip and the carry comes out of the top laner for this squad. I think that instills a lot of confidence in me that this is one of the Western teams that might really be able to stack up here at the throughout the remainder of the group stages and into the knockouts.
And the returning finalists.
Finalists? You say are they going to run it back, Crumbs? Is that what you're saying?
I said returning finalists.
Oh,
I said they're returning finalists. They have the same roster. I think they're really, really good. I think G2 actually has a pretty good chance of making it.
I think I didn't hear the returning, so I just heard finalists, like you were calling it, like they were going again. I was like, I like that call, but it's a bold one, my friend.
That one win's got into my head, Dash. I don't know what to say.
We should also call out Jankos. While we're talking about top performers, it wasn't just Wonder in this one. I think Jankos, similar to some of his previous games, didn't have the hottest start, but had a significant recovery within this game.
And definitely highlighting like how he bounced back in this game was really, really good. He died on a silly invade, and then after that, he didn't die for 30 minutes straight. There was even a time in the game where he was up there trying to help Wonder, and Wonder just ran it down, and he just watched him and was like, well, I'm not going to die with you, bro.
You love to see that. You love to see that. All righty. Well, from there, we do need to step away for just a quick commercial break. On the other side, though, we've got Lyric, who will be joining us to break down the LPL matchups of the evening. Don't you worry. More Worlds Cooldown is coming at you after this. Welcome back to Worlds Cooldown, where Crumbs is out, Lyric is in to help us break down the LPL matchups from this evening, and it's going well for the LPL, my friend. We are going to kick things off with TL versus Suning, where Suning made every second count, putting immense pressure on the TL bot lane. Made possible, of course, by the Cisco network. How'd you feel about this play down here in the bot lane, Lyric?
This play was absolutely amazing. I love that we finally saw the Twitch Rakan bot lane get punished. Huanfeng is a famous Draven player. He actually used to be the understudy of Jackie Love, so it makes a lot of sense. And in this play, it was just really hard for TL to even punish on the opposite side of the map. And from here, it was really just Suning's game to snowball and close out.
Yeah, I was just in love with this because it was so powerful. They did this with the Nidalee already in their control too, so huge winning bottom lane, and they use this for constant invades. Yes, the bottom lane is a tragedy for Team Liquid. Twitch gets super far behind, getting zoned from experience and stuff, but this is at the same time, Nidalee has Flame Horizon, Broxus Lee Sin. So it translates into complete map control, not just one little area here. And that was one of the biggest parts. Like Suning just completely dominated from the get-go. For TL's side, I know I saw tweets coming out from the players. They felt like they had no tools to work with right from the preparation and the planning from Suning, and they just executed on it just as well.
I mean, Demonte, Kobe was making a big deal about the individual gold lead that Wonder had built in his lane. Take a look at that graphic there on the bottom of our screen. It's not a 1900, it's a 2600 for a Draven at 15 minutes.
Absolutely insane. I would love to have this guy on my solo queue team any day of the week.
Yeah.
Another thing I do want to highlight this game is another game where we see Nidalee Galio, and I think this is almost an even better scenario than before where G2 had it. This time they have full counter pick on bot side, and on top side it's like a pure 50-50 matchup, and you saw Galio was able to maintain priority, and he was able to run down to bot lane anytime he wanted. This is not saying that Jensen had a bad game by any means, but I just want to highlight the fact that Nidalee Galio was played again, and I think it's just going to keep coming.
Yeah, in fact, this game, it did feel like Jensen recovered a bit from the poor performance that he had in yesterday's game, whereas the rest of Team Liquid, it did seem, fell down just a little bit in this series here. But Lyric, I want to come back to you specifically, not only on this game, but kind of the way that Group A is shaking out, because this one still feels to me like one of the most undecided of the groups.
Yeah, it's a bit weird because, I mean, even when we look back to Suning's match against G2, it felt like it was in Suning's favor for a lot of that game. Exactly. It does look like a bit of a two-horse race unless Liquid can start getting it together, but Machi's been a decent surprise. And I think this group has been defined by a lot of, let's say, like cheeky plays in the mid game, being able to surprise and outmaneuver your opponents through side lanes. I think G2's been doing that a lot. And I still feel like it's a bit up in the air if Machi can kind of like throw their hat in and shake things up a bit between G2 and Suning.
Yeah, with that too, Kobe, I think though does come rather some continued questions around the drafting for Team Liquid. It just feels as though they're left without a couple tools that they need in their toolbox right now at Worlds 2020.
Yeah, I mean, people have really been highlighting the preparation, and we just talked about for Suning how good their game plan was. Felt like they had the plan from Champ Select and executing all the way through their level 1, through the focus throughout the game. Those are the types of things that are going to be a big difference, and those are the things that, TL or Machi, if they're going to get wins versus, G2 or Suning, who are heavily favored in this group, it has to come from a ton of preparation, a really well laid out game plan, to get one of those best of 1 wins.
Yeah, now Lyric Grass has been popping off about SOFM all tournament long, but as the LPL representative, I wanted to give you the same opportunity to pop off about this guy because he's been impressing me personally.
The thing I love about this guy is just how unique he thinks about the jungle role. He has a lot of like really strange pathings where he ends up in the enemy jungle when you don't think he should be able to. His builds are insane. I swear this man builds Warmogs every single game. Maybe not the most efficient, but hey, it's getting Suning wins. And I feel like his efficiency and creativity are one of the strongest points for Suning, not only in this group, but in the World Championship.
Going to need continued creativity out of them if they want to challenge, I think, especially in the knockout stages. But things are looking good so far now at 1-1 after a close loss to G2 earlier in the group stages. Let's now flip the script over to JDG versus Rogue. They got the win here today, so now in second place in that Group B, 2-1. How are you feeling about the way that JD showed up today?
So the thing I loved was their very early game, how they chained small sequences together, starting from Yagao's TP where he helped force Bryo to guarantee Kanavi Scuttle, transitioning that into the top gank, which allowed them then to get the wave bounce back, and they coordinated it so well with Lumao's roam topside to set up for that big Herald play.
I'm so glad we got to see Lumao Bard as well. A couple of these plays setting up for the rest of the team, some of the picks they got, the way that they use their range. This was a JDG that I wanted to see. And after their first loss, people started to lose a little bit of confidence. Going up against another one of the tournament favorites, this thing, I feel like this game's got to give a lot of it back. And one of the things that was really highlighted to me in this one was the speed of their macro and the decisions that they force on their opponents. I really, really loved how they were willing to sacrifice very small objectives, like a couple turret plates on top side, to make a big bottom side play. I just wanted to pull an extra replay from when they pick up this Rift Herald, they put it in the hands of Zoom. And Zoom says, all right, we're teleporting bottom with the Caitlyn that's been pushing on this turret for multiple fights where they let Caitlyn push down the first plates by herself. And then, yes, you are going to leave topside open for a couple of turret plates pushed there, but you get first tower, you get second tower, and you get the dragon all at the same time. And JDG, they just force the other teams to try and catch up to their game plan rather than, going 50-50 or making even trades or anything like that.
Demonte, help me. Yeah, just help me understand why this works. What's going on here?
Well, I think what you see JDG do a lot, it's something that I felt that FunPlus Phoenix did a lot last year, where they just don't ever react to the enemy team. They will always make their own play, and they'll always force enemies to react to them. And that's what we just watched in that play there. The Renekton knows that he can't farm the top wave anymore. He knows that he can't farm the jungle camps on the top side. So he just TP's bot. He's like, hey man, you're gonna share this tower gold with me. I'm not gonna just be weak this entire game. And then they're just strong. They just get 2 towers, like you said.
Lyric, what's your assessment of that? I mean, is this a given when it comes to the LPL teams, or where does this come from, this idea that, you know, it's less about responding to the opponent and more about finding the better answer in any given moment?
It's a bit weird because I feel like LPL teams, for some reason, over the years have developed into more of, I'll kind of call them like specialist teams. Like teams will all in on like their strong points, and they don't care about meta. They don't care what anyone else is doing. They're just going to play for that. And again, however it's developed over the years, it's just what LPL's been so good at. But kind of honing in on JDG, it's also so interesting to me that when they make these plays, it seems like everyone's watching like the wave states of the other laners because they just always sync these plays at the most perfect time.
I love that call out. I mean, the idea that they're working in perfect synergy at any moment. And that's, I guess, really what it feels like, is so often I think we're caught off guard. I say we, the royal we. I'm caught off guard by the decision that the team is making and how ingenious it is in the moment. So the foresight that they must have to be able to link up and make those kind of macro plays that you called out there, Kobe, is just massive. Lyric, just final thoughts on the LPL's performance so far through 3 days. How are you feeling confident? Is this going to chalk? Were you expecting more, less at this point?
Man, it has been great. I mean, especially after today, right? We just went 3-0 today, like the LPL as a whole. So it's looking good. LGD obviously won the other day as well. I'm really excited to see their matchup against TSM, which obviously is a throwback to 2015. So I think LPL's like feeling great, especially after play-ins where people were down on LGD, but now they're looking better. Like things are only going up from here.
Sweet, sweet. Well, that TSM LGD matchup is the 6th game of the day tomorrow, so make sure you tune in for that one. Lyric, again, thank you so much for joining us. As always, we'll catch up with you on future days.
Yep, thanks, guys.
All right, we're going to step away. On the other side, there's more World's Cooldown coming at you. Welcome back to World's Cooldown, presented by State Farm. Crumbs is back in, and Crumbs, I'm coming straight to you on Dom1 Gaming versus PSG. Dom1 3-0. This is the team that has impressed me the most so far with the dominance in which they've been winning.
Rightfully so. In the race for the Summoners Cup, Dom1 Gaming is gaining a lot of ground on a lot of teams, and the big thing for this team for me right now has been Naguri, the top laner. I mean, this guy's already had 2 games that are entirely deathless. Here, he gets hard camped. If you remember PSG from the play-ins, you see that this team can be very explosive. Different players now, but they're still pushing their advantage wherever they can. They have something in the top lane, but what ends up happening is that Dom1 Gaming just has better players. This is just what it looks like. They are out-CSing PSG in every category. And here, this is the second dive against the Kennen, but the first time they tried this 3-man dive, he traded 1 kill. And after that, he's now able to solo kill his opponent in between turrets. You just dove this guy 3-on-1 twice, and this is still what he's able to do. It's incredibly impressive because that freed up the rest of the map, and then watch him wait for his flank very carefully with the Kennen. Nobody else has played Kennen thus far. This team has played 14 unique champions in a maximum of possibly 15. They're basically just picking whatever they want every single time, and no one seems to have an answer.
Demonte, how do you even approach assessing a squad like this? I didn't even know that stat that Crumbs just cited, 14 unique champions out of a 15 possible across 3 games. You're looking at a player like Naguri, who we talked about earlier, has all of these different options from carry to supportive utility type champions, and he seems to have the same level of performance on all of them.
Yeah, that is a ridiculous stat. I didn't know that either. And I think this is just another reason to be scared of these top teams. I think Damwon is showing it, and I think Top Esports is showing it. Or not Damwon, sorry, Top Esports. And Top Esports and Damwon are indeed showing it.
Yes.
Sorry. They're just showing that they have these massive champion pools, and that's something that you normally don't expect out of the top teams. You expect them to play, their exact style, and then you expect the bottom teams to be playing this crazy stuff, but it seems like it's backwards this time around.
Kobe, he got hard camped, and the man came away with 4 solo kills. What is going on?
The quickness with which they make their decisions. So you see, from the beginning of that replay, we saw bottom side, as soon as Dom1 saw support roam, bottom immediately went for the 2v1 kill. They get the kill there while they're getting camped on top side. Then Nuguri as well, even after getting camped so hard and losing out on some of the CS, still able to, between the turrets, find solo kills for himself. And then the patience that he showed later for that dragon fight, I think that's the key, because people don't realize how hard it is to play Kennen into champions like Lulu and the ultimate from Kindred. Those things can nullify your ultimate in a single move by themselves if you're not patient and you don't find the right moment.
Yeah, so far, the player of the tournament for me has got to be Nuguri. Again, to go from a Lulu performance just yesterday where he comes out on the winning side of it to then flip over to the Kennen against the Lulu this time around and still to come out on top. I mean, Crumbs, I can't get over it. I can't get over it.
It's because you think that playing top lane carries means you have to play Camille, Jax, Fiora. It's like, no. You can actually pop off with a Lulu. You can play the map. You can take advantages early and win the game that way. So he's already switching the script on top lane. And just for a little bit of history, this is the guy that was playing Klepto Vlad, that was playing Cole mages in the top lane. Like, this is what he had initially brought into the League of Legends scene. And now we're starting to see, as he developed further as a player, hey, turns out he's still really damn good.
Yeah, this guy is evolving into the whole package. He can play fast, but he can also play solo. He can play calculated, but he can also play aggressive as possible. It's just insane.
Yeah, one of the most exciting teams to watch here at the world stage so far. Also one of the best. 3-0, undefeated so far in the group stages. We got one more matchup to talk about. That's FlyQuest versus Unicorns of Love, where DeMonte, North America, picked up our very first win of the 2020 group stages.
Power of Evil is putting NA on its back, baby. Let's go. I'm not going to talk about solo. I think we just all choose to ignore that. Nothing happened up there. But Power of Evil, man, the performance he put on this game today was insane. I feel like the mid gap was just crazy. You see here, he solo kills No Man's, and throughout the whole game, he's playing really consistently, really strong, doing a ton of damage, and yeah, he picks up NA its first win.
You play against PoE. Is this regular season PoE, playoffs? Like, is it just another tier of his performance that we haven't seen yet?
This is buffed out, jacked PoE. This is insane. Yeah, he's playing out of his mind.
Look at that kill he gets on the jungler as the Infernal Dragon is going down, so close to giving over Soul. He just saved so many of these critical moments. And this is where the tension is highest, where the pressure is highest. It was a really close game here for Unicorns with a big lead, constantly on Soul Point, constantly farming kills off of the top side of the map, killing Solo, diving him, creating this amount of pressure on FlyQuest. And so that made the standout performance from Power of Evil that much more necessary and that much more impressive when he's able to pull this off. I will say that, Ignar and Wild Turtle as well, performed super well in that one, but the antics that Power of Evil was able to pull off in so many of these critical moments really have to give him a
perfect word, necessary.
Yeah, it was an exciting win, albeit definitely not an easy victory for FlyQuest. And again, I think that's where we got to go tip our caps to Unicorns of Love. While they are 0-2, I think this is a team that can make that Group D quite interesting. They have the opportunity to take a game off of a team like FlyQuest and maybe even DRX. I don't know about Top Esports so much. The expected 6-0 out of that group. But a win on the board for North America is huge. And I think the fact that it comes from FlyQuest, the team, number one seed from the region, yes, but also one of the teams that we have talked about does have that never give up kind of attitude, even in games where they're down, even in games where Solo is taking his lickings in the top lane. This, I think, of all of the North American squads, is the team most willing to still get back in there off of an Ignar engage or something of the like and actually start a fight.
It's and they're planting trees and doing things for the environment too. So at the very least, they're like, hey, we're getting something out of this.
I love it. Hey, look.
First win, come on.
we got a win, and we planted some trees. Damn right. All right, well, today's State Farm Assist of the Day goes to FlyQuest Power of Evil for lifting the morale of an entire region with his Syndra play. Kobe, coming back to you because it was all around that dragon.
Oh my goodness, there are so many high intensity moments here. Look at this. They lose out Wild Turtle really early on, so you already know that the huge burden to output damage is going to be on Power of Evil. He finds that stun just over the wall, barely taking out Gadget. Then when Solo goes down, it's actually only going to be the DPS from Power of Evil, and he's still able to get another Syndra ultimate off onto Ananasek, takes down the jungler. So once again, when these dragon fights, these smites for the critical soul come up, he focuses down the jungler, he gets the right target. He had amazing stats throughout the game. He was unfazed by what was going on around him.
Yeah, it's just another game where you see a player putting up almost 4-digit DPM numbers. It's crazy.
Yeah, absolutely wild. Massive carry performance out of him. Again, you love to see it, and hopefully that can be maybe the beginnings of some confidence for the North American squads moving forwards. Again, that's my bias and my hope showing through.
And they needed that one.
But we needed it. Exactly right. And we got it. Now, before we call it a day, I think we should jump into our honors for the day, where we give a Feels Good award to those that deserve it. So, Crumbs, coming to you first, and then we'll go down the line.
All right, well, you already hinted at who one of the most exciting players is, but I'm going to echo that sentiment. Nuguri, the top laner from Damwon Gaming, this guy is just on another level right now. Compared to other top laners, his champion pool is insane. He's actually performing on all of these champions, and we know he has even more. Like, he's getting a ton of bans aimed at him. We have yet to see his Vladimir. We have yet to see what he can do on picks like Jax. So I think that this guy is a must-watch. You just have to see every single time that Damwon plays, something is going to happen around Nuguri.
Yeah, again, I'll reiterate. He's the guy who introduced the Lulu and then introduced how to beat the Lulu on the very next day. DeMonte, what about you? Where are you throwing your honors?
My honors are all going to Power Evil, baby. He put NA on his back. I think he played out of his mind. From minute one, he just was trading so well on No Man's, and until the end of the game, he was just carrying well.
All right, yeah. Kobe, I know you've got a unique pick.
I was also going to go Power of Evil here. I mean, most North American viewers, I think, I have to give all these honors to Power of Evil. But you know what? You can't give multiple honors. Honestly, a lot of games, I find myself giving tilt proof to people for honors. That is also an honor, although a little bit dubious one. And we could give that one to Solo. You know, he got killed over and over and over in the top side of the map, but he still had an impact later in some of those fights, and most of it is about trying to create space for Power of Evil to do the carrying. But you know, tilt proof is also something you can give out for honors.
He had a really good flank. He was 1-6 and still is thinking about finding a flank to win the team fight instead of grouping with the team being really weak. So I think that is the embodiment of being tilt proof. Like, yeah, I might be feeding, but I can still be useful how I'm supposed to play my champion.
That was a soul-saving flank, yeah, to say the least. He still had plenty of impact on the game. Now, today's Was Asleep, Didn't Watch is going to DeMonte. So DeMonte is going to give us his 1-minute summary of what he loved from Groups Day 3. DeMonte, the time is yours.
The one thing that I loved today more than anything else was the top lane play. I think, in particular, I just loved watching how many carries there are in the top lane meta right now. I think the teams that are picking tanks and the teams that are not really giving resources to their top laners are kind of faltering at the moment. And on top of that, I just really love watching top lane carries. I think in the last game of the day, we got to see the Renekton-Quinn matchup. And in the last 3 games of the day, we got to see the Renekton. And, you know, it's a pick that is very, I would say, conflicted in the league community, but it's a pick that is definitely strong. And it's a pick that we're going to keep seeing. And I don't plan it to stop. I don't plan for it to stop at all.
I want to ask you a question since you're on the top laner point. Do you think that the eventual winner of Worlds will have to have a carry top laner, or can it be done? Let's say a player like Finn, who's been sticking more to tanks.
I think most definitely it's going to be a carry top laner that's going to hoist the Summoners Cup this year, and that's not to say you can't play Lulu and carry. So you might see some supports up there as well, but I just don't think tanks are that strong.
That's a good distinction. You can still carry even on a non-carry champion. Well, there you have it, my friends, the 1-minute wrap-up for the day. Let's take a look at what's in store for us tomorrow with our schedule. Day 4 of group stages. A couple of our groups are going to be finishing their first round robin, but Group A will kick off the day. You got G2 eSports up against Team Liquid, followed by Suning and Amachi. So that's going to be a near last chance for North America to start getting some wins on the board there in Group A. Then over to Group D, DRX versus Worlds, FlyQuest top versus Unicorns of Love, finishing it out with Group C, Fnatic versus Gen G, and TSM versus LGD. I will remind everyone that Lyric called out that 6th game of the day, TSM versus LGD, as his one to watch. But Damonte, out of this slate of 6 games, which one excites you the most?
I gotta go for the game 1. G2 versus Team Liquid. I want to see NA absolutely stomp EU.
Yeah.
You know which one stands out for me though? Because there is, to me, NA is synonymous with one name right now, Power of Evil. I want to see how Power of Evil stacks up against Chovy out of DRX.
All right, that's game 3. So a lot of focus, obviously, on the North American teams for us. Kobe, anything else jumping out to you on that schedule?
I was going to say Fnatic versus Gen G, because I think that group, to me, that group is incredibly volatile. And I'm excited to see, who goes down to tiebreakers. I feel like either of those teams could definitely take that victory. I think that's going to be a really close and exciting matchup.
Yeah, candidly, Group A and Group C are the ones that are feeling like they really still have a lot of figuring out to do, and anyone could make it out. Whereas, B, D, feeling a little bit more decided just based on the dominance of the top team in each of those groups.
I like how you still have hope in Group A.
I didn't say, I did not say I had hope for TL. I just don't think that it's decided that maybe Machi sneaks into top 3 is all I'm saying over there. Anyway, that's going to do it for us here on Worlds Cooldown. Damonte, I want to thank you so much for lending us your time and joining us today. But on behalf of myself, the casters, and all of the remote broadcast crews from all around the world, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow for more Worlds.